All right. Does anybody have a favorite Thanksgiving memory they want to share? Yeah, I saw Mr. Eli's hand first, and then Miss Jordan.
So I was at my grandparents' house, and instead of having a turkey, we had chicken pot pie, and I put cranberry sauce on it, so it's not disgusting. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, but everyone was like, ew, that's disgusting. And then I just ate 3 servings of it, and they're like, never mind.
I feel like I'd have to taste that to understand exactly what you're talking about, but I can visualize it, you know? I saw your hand next if you still want to share. You said you were all excited before.
Okay, so when I go to my grandparents for Thanksgiving, we have this signature drink. It was this frozen juice, and then add Sprite, and then sugar, and then it just makes a really good drink. So yeah, kind of like a kitty cocktail, but it doesn't taste good.
I'm sensing that'll lead to diabetes if you drink that long enough. All right, you should save the rest of those stories for a small group because I want to get a small group relatively quick tonight. But remember to sign up for Friendsgiving on November 20th. If you don't sign up, we're kind of going to be butts about it because this is we got to be a family. And so you have to let us know if you're coming. And if you don't know if you're signed up, go bother your parents tonight. Not tomorrow night. You can do that too. But make sure you bother them tonight about signing up for this. The link has been in the emails. All righty, friends. How do you sign up? So here's the deal. Whoever picks you up, you got to tell them, hey, Joran said that I have to sign up for Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving tonight. Then they'll go check their emails, probably on their phones, but not while they're driving because that's unsafe. Then they're going to click on this little hyperlink that's in the email. And then on that link, it's going to take you to a page where you can put your names and what you're going to bring. And so that's how you sign up. Thanks for asking. But we are finishing up our time in the Nevi'im tonight. So the Nevi'im, if you don't remember, is made up of 2 parts. We hit up the first part, the former prophets, a couple weeks ago. That was our books like Joshua and Judges and Samuel and Kings, all the kind of books that read like a story, like narratives. Tonight, we're going to briefly talk about the second section, which is the latter prophets. They come shockingly after, so they're the latter, after the former prophets. And these guys are the ones that if you have spent time around the Bible, they're the ones that you typically think of as a prophet. So can anybody name a prophet? Just whatever comes to mind. Yeah. Jesus is a prophet because of what we'll talk about next, but he's not on the scene quite yet. You want another one? All right, cool. Yes, Mr. Hess. Isaiah, good job. Anyone else? Yeah, Harrison. Jeremiah, yep. Well, we can talk about modern prophets maybe during small groups. But yes, so there's within the latter prophets. Are we good? We good? Shh. All right, thank you guys. Within the latter prophets, there are 2 chunks. There's the major prophets, so we name some of those Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. And then there's 12 smaller prophets. They call them the minor prophets. These are kind of operate in the same way, but they are super short compared to those big boys up there, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. I have a really important question, though. What's a prophet? Anyone think about it? I saw Ebenezer's hand first. What's a prophet?
A prophet is someone who's sent by God to deliver a message to the people.
Okay, sent by God to deliver a message to people. Anyone else want to take a rec solely?
Something you make money off of.
Hey, something you make money off. I love that's the same word, different spelling, all right? So a prophet is somebody, similar to what Ebenezer said, somebody who God uses as a mouthpiece to speak to either Israel or the surrounding nations, often using imagery or poetry. So in the biblical context, prophet is someone that God uses as a mouthpiece to speak to either Israel or the surrounding nations, often using imagery or poetry. So I want to help us visualize this for a second. So I need, let's go 7 volunteers. Let's go 1, 2. I got to even it out. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I need a lucky 7th, Sophie. All right, if you guys want to come on up here. Just right here is fine. All right, so you 7 are going to be Israelites, all right? So I want to help us visualize, if the rest of us can watch, Mr. Soley. If the rest of us can watch, I want to help us to visualize how prophets worked in the Old Testament, all right? So some people in Israel, they were in charge of like gathering food. So you're going to gather food. So you want to go on that side of me? Some people were in charge of like making sure that Israel is safe. So they're kind of this warrior. Does anyone want to be, I heard you over there. You want to go over there? Some people were like the priests. They were in charge of making sure that, friends, thank you. I know it's exciting, but some people were the priests in Israel. And at this time, well, who wants to be a priest? Do you want to be a priest? You want to have it right here? So at this time, priests were not always doing the greatest work. God kind of calls them out in a lot of these prophetic books. And so the priests existed. They were in some ways doing what God had instructed them, but they were not doing it with the heart that God instructed them to do it with. So sometimes the priests were there. Sometimes there was like lawgivers. Who wants to be a lawgiver? There you go. All right. You want to go stand over there? Some people, I should have taken all these out before. There we go. Some people built stuff. You want to build stuff? All right, so you want to go over there? And then there are some people who are just straight up blind. Who wants to be blind? All right, you want to put that on and go over there? All right, if people don't know, what's your name?
Kalkadon.
So Kalkadon's going to be our prophet tonight, all right? So you want to stand right here? This is how a prophet worked. You have all of Israel doing all sorts of different things to make Israel work. Now remember, Israel, friends, Israel was a whole nation, right? They were a country, and so they had different roles, and some people were filling the roles well, and some people weren't. The majority, though, of the time of the prophets, all of Israel, including the priests, did not really follow God. They were all kind of continuing the downward spiral that we've been studying this whole time, all right? So the role of the prophet, if the role of the prophet is to be God's mouthpiece, I'm going to be God, once again, not because I am, but in this exercise, as a mouthpiece to speak to Israel, all right? So Kalkadon's got to be my mouthpiece to speak to Israel, all right? So I'm going to tell you things, and you're going to say into the mic, and you're going to give them direction, all right?
Your mission is to find an object that will change how you see the world. Go. You might find it low. It's pink. It's towards the back of the room. It's slow. It's sparkly.
Hey, what's that? Bring it on up here. Don't shoot it at me, but bring it up here. All right. Can you give that first of all, Mr. Hess, can you raise that so people can see what it is? Uh-huh. All right, Mr. Hess, can you give them to our prophet? And prophet, I want you to look through it. Tell us what you see.
People, but like doubled.
People but doubled? Does anyone else, any other Israelite want to look through it? All right, you want to put it on? You got to tell us what you see, though.
Oh, it's very glittery. It's like no, not glittery, but like very colorful.
Ew, I don't like that. It's like shapes and colors everywhere. There's like a lot more people than there are actually.
What I see is like 10,000 people.
Oh, the blind one's trying it.
It's like a kaleidoscope.
All right, Israelites, you guys want to put your objects here and go take a seat? And then non-Israelites, you want to give them a round of applause? Well done. Yeah, you're good. Thank you, Prophet. Oh, this is trippy. So, friends, this is a pair of kaleidoscope glasses. This is getting weird. I don't think I could teach like that. No, I don't have enough for everybody. I'm sorry. But no, that's going to be distracting. Maybe we could try it like after small groups, right? So, friends, here's the image that I needed us to see, is that Israel was this whole country searching for how to exist in this world. And for hundreds and hundreds of years, they were being influenced by other people in other countries that did not love God. They were giving them directions that were actually harder to follow, that wouldn't lead to the goal. But prophets, God called them out. You saw how I was speaking to Chalcedon, right? I was whispering to her, and she was transmitting that same message to the rest of Israel. That, my friends, is how a prophet operates. Even though what a prophet says sometimes might be confusing, sometimes what a prophet says might be a little hard to hear for Israel, like they're looking in the wrong place. What the prophet says is ultimately going to be in the best interest of Israel, which is interesting to think about because when you start to read the prophets, they don't always end well in the way we would think of a good ending usually. But I want us to remember our story, all right? So here's the plot. Israel is either about to be in exile or is already in exile, depending on what prophet you're reading. And they are being ruled over by a nation. It depends what book you're reading, depends on what nation, but a nation that does not love God. Interesting point here. God chooses to use countries and rulers that don't follow him in his will. Think about that for a second. God chooses to use rulers that don't know him for his own purposes. Think about what that tells us about God, all right? But Israel, in this midst, they feel defeated and demoralized. They don't have a sense of identity necessarily, and they're looking to these other rulers, these other countries, to find meaning and purpose. The problem, though, is that they often ignore these prophets. So, I doubt that those Israelites could have found those glasses if they wouldn't have listened to Chalcedon. Does that make sense? I doubt they might have. It would have taken them a lot longer, though, right? So that's the problem. Israel ignores the majority of these prophets, and it leads them to destruction, frankly. They don't heed warnings. They continue to prioritize other gods. And they lose the plot of this bigger story that we've been studying this whole time. Cool thing is, though, there's still this promise that I think in every prophet, every book you can read in this section, there is still moments where God is saying, even though you are literally being ruled by somebody else, even though your economics suck, even though you're being persecuted, even though you're being downtrodden, even though you keep deciding to follow other gods besides me, I am not going to give up on you, is what God says. Now, there's some trials that await Israel, right? You see the flames there. But in the end, we still see this promise in pretty much every prophet that God is going to bring this new Israel along with this new king in that top right. And that new king is going to be a better version of Moses. He's going to be a better version of David. He's going to be the ultimate version of Abraham. And so the promise is still there, even though Israel refuses to listen to these prophets over and over and over again, all right? So I know there's a super quick overview of what prophets do and where Israel is. But I think there are still some 3 so what questions I want to ask before we get you guys to small group, all right? The first one is, how can you spend time listening to God? Just think about it for a second. I love those hands, but maybe share in small group. How can you spend time listening to God? Because the reality is, unless those Israelites that you guys had your own roles to play, your own things to do in the world, unless they stopped what they were doing and listened to Calcadon, they weren't going to know what to do. They weren't going to know what to look for, right? And so how can you spend time listening to God? Because of the next point. What other gods do you worship? What other gods do you worship? Now, we don't worship gods in the same way that the people during Israel's time worshiped other gods, in terms of like Baal, right? Where they had an image of a literal god and they were worshiping that. But I would argue that we still have plenty of gods, plenty of idols that we still, if we're being honest, prioritize over spending time with God, that we strive for, that we put more energy towards, that if you were to look at how we use our weeks and our energy, they often will tell us that we would prioritize other things, that we would prioritize sports, we would prioritize money, we would prioritize ourselves over following and listening to our God. And in that way, we're not actually that much different from the people around Israel and in Israel. Third question is, do you forget about God in the busyness of life? That's more for myself, because I get busy and I forget about God all the time, but I'm going to bet that a lot of us too, especially as you get older and you have choices about how you're going to use your free time and what you're going to get involved with. Friends, the reality is that God, family, the reality is that God wants to spend time with you, that he wants to talk with you, that he wants to help you. But there's going to be so many things that are going to tempt you away from spending time listening and responding. And I'm guilty of it. A lot of us are guilty of it. These like devices in our pockets are like one of the hardest things for me to overcome, basically. I wouldn't say the enemy, but the enemy can use it. I think phones are morally I think they're amoral, but the ways that we can use that can be morally good or morally bad. But for me, that phone distracts me away from doing a lot of things that would draw me closer to God, right? So those are my 3 questions for you guys to ponder, talk about in small groups. I'm going to pray, and then we can get into small groups. So let's put phones away. Let's put nothing in our hands, eyes closed. God, thank you for not giving up on Israel, not giving up on us. Despite time after time that we choose other things and other people above you. Thank you that you still persistently talk through your word, talk through the Spirit, the same way that you talk through the prophets to get Israel's attention. God, I ask that you would help us to identify what those things are that are taking attention away from you. Lord, would you show the things that are not good for us, but also show the people and the things that are good for us, that you are drawing us into. So God, I ask that you would bless the small group time, that you would bless conversations, and that you would be at the center of this time, Lord. You know, I pray. Amen. All right, I'll see you guys later. But follow your small group leaders. Don't run ahead of them. Be with them as the Lord is with you.